Hey, welcome back to my channel. Got a little something on the bench for you here. Got a little Moby pick. If you're familiar with my channel, you're familiar with him. I want to introduce you to his big brother. Yeah, 5-inch 4S Ultralight. All right, so I just got him here. If you're familiar with my channel, you're familiar with him. Little 3S, or I'm sorry, 1S, 3-inch, fun little guy. Okay. Size comparison, and then also, oddly enough, the flight characteristics very similar. So, but enough about him. Star of the show. I've been wanting to build one of these for quite some time and just haven't, because I just never seen the right frame. I wanted to do something that was power to weight ratio very similar to my MobyTooth, and just couldn't find anything that really struck me is the right choice. And then finally this frame came out and it was on like Donkey Kong, man. I had to do it. So this video is about just the hardware. You know, I got a schematic. We're gonna go through the pieces and parts, the receiver, the components, all the things. We're gonna take a look at the battery, the 4S we're using, just kind of get some weights. I'm not really going to go into beta flight. I'm not going to really go into PID tuning or anything like that, but I do have a couple flight videos, just a little bit of flight, you know, so you can kind of see it come up on a hover, see some of the action. But keep in mind, you know, I really didn't get into tuning, and it's 18 degrees. These are like 2.5 years old, and yeah, there's like 14 inches of snow on the ground. So, but yeah, that's what this video is about. Let's check out the hardware and the connections and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so the first thing would be, let's check out this frame. Like I said, I had, you know, it just seemed like every month would go by. It's like, nah, it's just not the right frame, or no, that's not what I want to do. And as soon as I seen this, I thought that's the one. Teeniest LEDs, something like that, is where I found it. And it is, let me just give you, it's a 16 by 16, 20 by 20, and whoop, 25 by 25 mounting pattern. And of course, I went with the all-in-one whoop size toothpick. They even call it that. I don't know if they're supposed to, whatever. It's a all-in-one toothpick style flight controller and ESC. And then the mounting patterns, you can run your like 20XX, you know, your 14XX, 15XX, 1206 motors, all that'll fit on here. And you would think, you know, it's optical illusion on this frame, but you would think it's a stretch or a squashed X, but it's actually not. It's 135 millimeters by 135 millimeters. So it's actually a true X frame. And that's what I wanted for this. And, I like to be able to pick it up like this instead of grabbing it by the camera. Of course, you can't pick up the battery unless it's upside down. So it's kind of nice to have something to grab hold of. 4 millimeters. And it does come with hardware. It doesn't come with this canopy. It comes with the top plate. Man, this top plate is something else. So it comes with standoffs. It comes with 4, I think it only came with 4 M2 screws. And here's the top plate. Is that crazy or what? Look how small that thing is. I mean, what are you going to use that for? I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you can get like a nano camera in there maybe. I don't know if you got a 3D printer, you can come up with something, because it didn't come with any camera mounting hardware that I could tell. Hey, just for giggles, here's my Source 1 frame. So here's the top plate of my new 5-inch. Here's my old 5-inch, right? Look at that. Whatever, you know. So I guess you can use the top plate for something. And I chose not to. I got a buddy of mine that gives these to me, and I don't know where he gets them, but I'm sure you can find them. They're pretty cool. This camera in here is the Nano 3, that Runcam Nano 3 that's in the Mobula 6. That's a nice camera. I like it. And it fits really nice, and it's super light. And so enough about the frame. You got any more questions about this, let me know. I'll try to answer some questions for you. The motors, they're just the Mamba 4000 kV 1408 motors. This is the motor that's on like the Eachine ER349, the GT349, all the 4S diatone quads have these motors on it. And I've had them for a couple of years on my favoriteest 3-incher in the world, and just beat the snot out of it. So I think they're great. And then the motors are connected to the flight controller. And we'll go through that. Let me get these props out of my way. You know what? Before I should put them back on, let's get some weights. Alright, so we should probably get the prop nuts in here first. Okay. So the weight with the 5-inch props, 142. Okay. And then this is the LiPo, 650 LiPo I'm running on it. 209. 209.6. So just over 200 grams. So I'm sure you could go with like maybe a bigger battery. I tell you what I'm going to do. Let me pull the props off of here. And that way, if you wanted to build one just like this, like exactly like this, you'd have a pretty good idea of what the weight is. So 127, 120, yeah, just say 127. And then you can, you'll obviously know what the weight is of 4 props, and then whatever battery choice you want. So there's the weight of it just by itself with the prop nuts. This prop nut stuck to the battery pad there. All right. So let's go ahead and dig in a little bit deeper to the flight controller. Before let's check out the flight characteristics of these props. Let's jump over here and to the video and just watch this thing take off and fly around just a little bit. As you can see, I mean, I had to mute this thing. The rest of the audio is just terrible, but you can see that it just took off at a hover at throttle percentage of 7. I mean, it's crazy. I had the idle, I had to turn it down to like 2.2, I think, just to get it to drop. But you can see 16, 14, I mean, hardly any throttle. And I'm trying not to really push too much. Since this is the very first time I've had it out to fly, other than just kind of doing some circles in the basement, and but this thing is really performing a lot better than I thought it would. But yeah, I had to kill the audio because the rest of this file is just garbage. But I'll just real quick just kind of come back, do a little punch, a little power roll. But this is like stock PIDs, totally stock, everything. And this thing is just cruising along. So I can't wait to see what this thing does on a brand new LiPo. But yeah, pretty sick. God, is that amazing? I mean, I just barely pushed up on that throttle and it just started to take off. And the sound of it, it's like, it reminds me of an X-Class, the way you could see the entire motor, and the motor, the stators are kind of tall. I don't know. It just seems so much bigger and awesome than what, what it actually is. But yeah, pretty fun, right? So let's look at the flight controller. We'll look at all these components, and then we'll check out some 4-inch bi-blades and see what the flight looks like with that. Let me go ahead and zoom in here real quick. We'll get this lined up here orientation wise. All right. All right, so the first thing we have here, I printed this out to kind of blow it up. I'm going to go a little bit closer in so you can kind of see what I've done in here as well. But I have the battery lead and the positive and negative battery leads for the 4S LiPo. Okay, and then off of this negative lead here, I have a redundant ground. So I'm running a ground strap up from that and then around to the VTX camera. So where the camera connects to the VTX, I have a redundant ground going to that ground. So I'll show you in detail. I'll zoom in on the quad itself, but let's just go through this layout. And then 5 volt, the ground, the camera in from the VTX, and then the camera in from the camera, okay, and then camera out going to the VTX. And then this is the VTX control, which is tramp. So the HGLRC Zeus, okay, let me show you that. So here's the HGLRC Zeus Nano VTX. That's the tramp control, so T2. And then, of course, in ports tab, you have to choose tramp protocol for that. And then on, we have motor 1 lined up here, okay, and then motor 2 is here, oops, right there. And then up here in the front for the receiver, let me find it. Where did I put it? There we go. So the receiver I went with is this $7, $8 for this little nano receiver that fits. I mean, it literally fits so perfect on the case of this right here. I peeled the sticker off of the Zeus, so that sticker's gone, and then it just revealed the metal case of this. And then I double stack adhesive the receiver, which is shrink tubed, to that, and it was exact fit and size and everything, so it worked out good to hold that receiver in. This is an 8-channel with RSSI, so the 9th channel is your RSSI. I have a video on this. I put it in a Rex 80, did some range and explaining some things about that and how to hook it up to the transmitter and all that jazz. So yeah, if you want to check that video out. So I got that receiver in here, and on the front pins right here, now this receiver only has 3 wires because there's no telemetry. So you only have the ground, the 5 volt, and the S bus. So these 3 pads here. Okay, and then I have a ground 3.5 here on the board. I didn't use, but I did use the buzzer. So I have, if you can see here, there's a 85 decibel buzzer. Man, you want to hear that thing? Let me plug this in real quick. I got to turn on my transmitter here. So, I mean, that thing is loud, obnoxious. But I also wanted to turn it on and show you how loud it is. Because it's necessary. You ditch this thing out in some grass, you're never going to find it. Yeah, this thing is too much fun. So I wanted to show you that plugged in.
Telemetry lost.
Yeah, the telemetry is the RSSI on that channel 9. It doesn't have true telemetry or full telemetry. But yeah, the pad, the original beeper I had on here, I just took a couple, just to tap the ground kind of thing, the vibration, it tore the pad off, literally ripped the pad from the board. And so I looked at this under some microscopic equipment, and the original pad was absolute garbage. It's so tiny. There's like hardly anything holding the pad on originally. So I traced down the pad to this little voltage regulator, and I found a leg on the voltage regulator that mimicked that pad. So I soldered it. I'll get a close-up look at this. I kind of thought about making a different video, since I'm wondering how many people are going to rip that pad off, like super easy. Anyway, so we're all connected up. That's all the connections I made. Just the two here for the beeper. Obviously all the motor wires, and then the 4 over here, the redundant ground, and then the 3 over here. So that's it. If you have any questions about that, let me know. And then the Zeus. So on the Zeus wiring, I'm just going to show you a little clip of that. I'm not running anything on, I don't have their flight controller. But that gives you the pin out here. So the RX, that's your tramp. So that first one there is tramp. And then you have your video, and that's your video coming from the flight controller, which you do have that, because you want to go through your OSD chip. And then you have 5-volt supplies. This can only handle 5 volts. So you can't hook battery voltage up to it. You have to use a 5-volt pad off your flight controller. Okay? And then the ground to the VTX. And then you have your 5-volt and your ground out for the camera. Okay? And the important thing about the 5-volt and ground from your camera is this ground here is the one that I did the redundant ground from the battery lead. So this is the ground that I used. So tramp, and then video from the OSD chip from your flight controller. 5-volt to supply this, ground to supply that. 5-volt for your camera, ground for your camera. And then of course the camera, the yellow from the camera wire goes to your flight controller, okay? You have any questions about that, let me know. I'll try to get that answered. Let's go ahead and zoom in here as tight as we can, and I'll try to show you how everything's connected and spaced and how it's put together in case you want to do it too. All right, so we have the back of the quadcopter here, so we can see the 4S LiPo lead here and the ground lead coming from the LiPo. And then as you can see here, this is the redundant ground I pulled off the top of here. I have I have a capacitor on the XT30, okay? So I have the capacitor built into the XT30 and just wire strapped onto the frame. And then I have another strap here for strain relief so I don't rip these pads. The other thing I don't want to happen is I don't want this insulation to be pulled off. You can see that wire's touching the frame. If that insulation goes free, then I'm pretty much in trouble. But, I don't care. That's the way I wanted it. And then I have that ground wire kind of looped around, doing a little shielding. And then it comes up here. And this is where the camera ground. So the camera, the RunCam Nano ground goes here. And then I've redundant ground from here. Okay? So that's how that's connected. And that eliminates a lot of your motor noise and garbage feed, especially with the flight controller ESC all built in one. Everything is so compact. It just helps. 5-volt right here. So you got your 5-volt and ground. And then the camera, the video feed from your camera goes to the in on the flight controller. And then the video out of your flight controller is what goes to your VTX here. If you can see that right there. So the first thing on your VTX is your tramp protocol, which goes to your T pad. And then, of course, your camera coming in. And then your 5 5-volt supply from your flight controller. And then your ground. Okay? So that's how that all is connected. And then this little canopy is great because it holds that nano camera in there really nice. And then there's this little clip on the back that holds the antenna on, and it's pretty secure. I don't have any issues with that. And then in the receiver inside here, I have one antenna poking up, and then I have another antenna coming out here and shooting off. I want to show you something. If you look in here, see the shielding, the black shielding? It stops right about there. Okay? The rest of the active element of this antenna is straight. You don't ever want to bend your active element. The shielding part, the black part that has a ground shield on it, it's fine. You can bend that, do whatever you want with it. But get away from the carbon and don't bend this. I've seen some guys bend this, and it's not supposed to be, or they wrap it around something that defeats the purpose. All right, and then the beeper, if you can see in here, let me zoom in. So totally aggravated about that. The pad had ripped off. You can see that? Let me see if I can zoom in a little more. So that pad, the buzzer negative, is actually the signal. And you can see there's no more pad on there. Let's see if I can turn that a little bit. It's gone. And then this pad, fortunately, was still there. But the beeper had come away from the board. And there wasn't even any crash. It just fell off. So now there's a voltage regulator right here. I don't know if I can get that in view. Voltage regulator right there. And the front leg of that voltage regulator, I soldered into that. It mimics that pad. So that gave me my negative or signal to my buzzer. And then the positive 5 volt. So be careful to make sure you have a little bit extra silicone wire on there. So that it has a little, it doesn't rip that pad off as easy maybe. Kind of sad really. So we have everything here. You can kind of see with the spacing. I've got a little spacer and then the flight controller gummy. See if I can focus that for you. It's probably annoying, yeah. There we go. So you can see the spacing in here, and then I've got a little spacer here, the gummy for the flight controller, and then this is just it's just a fake pearl. Like a craft store, you little pearl necklace, you make your own pearls. I just took it and sanded it and filed it into a cylinder, and it's exactly the height that I wanted to get my receiver just a little bit off of my flight controller. Okay, and then the VTX, and then I have a silicone grommet between the VTX and the camera mount. And those are M2 screws. Let's take a look. M2 screws are 25 millimeter M2 screws, and you need every bit of it too. And then this front one is just the way it's designed. I have a nylon nut here holding the flight controller down, and then the rest of this metal M2 screw is just a tilt. It's just to give me a little tilt. A little recommendation from a buddy of mine how to do that. So it's just a little bit higher, and that gives me my angle I like. And of course, if this is longer, you can bring that up and make this angle even sharper. Okay. So pretty fun little guy. Let me zoom out here. So I did fly it on these HQ, they're 4x2.5s, so 4-inch, 2.5 pitch bi-blades. And they actually weigh in, all up weight is under 200 grams. So it definitely makes it a lot lighter. The three blade prop, the 5-inch 3-blade props, I flew it on stock PIDs. I mean, completely bone stock. I did change it to bidirectional, and the 32-bit ESC, I changed the direction of 2 of the motors, and I also brought down the ramp-up power just a little bit. I think I went to 40. I'll get into more of that later. I would like to do some more PID tuning to this, but I really feel like stock PIDs are fine for the three blade front. Getting grief. The 5-inch tri-blades. The stock PIDs are fine. Didn't have any issues with it warming up or anything. It was 18 degrees, so take it with a grain of salt. These props, however, as soon as I put it on, it oscillated like crazy. I had to do like a full tune on it. You know, a ballpark tune, of course, just to get it to fly without oscillating all over the place. So these aren't, take it with a grain of salt, right? Because you put these on there, this thing's gonna yipe through the air. But it did act a little swifter, a little quicker. As you can tell, it's about double the throttle value to lift off. So it does take quite a bit more throttle to get this thing to go. And I also want to mention the video feed here. This DVR in my Fat Sharks is garbage. I wish you could see the camera in like real time. But I mean, all the movements and the breakup and all that stuff is not what I seen in the goggles. It's so aggravating. I wish I had a better way of doing things, but I don't. That's the stock DVR in my Fat Sharks. A lot of, I mean, the breakup I had was very minimal. But anyway, so yeah, the bi-blades seem to be pretty interesting to me. I kind of like, you know, cruising around, flowing, you know, flowy flights, but I don't know, be honest with you, I like to rip it up pretty good, so I think I'll probably check out some 5-inch bi-blades. But yeah, this setup seems, I mean, the VTX and the receiver, I can't say enough, you know, for the money, for the size and weight. It's pretty cool. So I think it's pretty good. I think definitely boogies. Definitely wasn't as flowy. It was more twitchy, but I tend to like that a little more. I like the kind of like real hard, quick movements. Like right before I smash into the wall, I go straight up, you know, stuff like that. So interesting. I want to play around with a 5-inch bi-blade. So before I make this video like super crazy long, I just wanted to go through all this. I was wanting to go with a 32-bit ESC, so that's why I chose this. I was kind of giving Beta FPV another kind of go at it. I was really aggravated with the Beta FPV's flight controller that went bad for no reason on that naked GoPro setup, the Beta FPV 95X, and they didn't do anything. They didn't do nothing to remedy the situation. But I want to give it. Can I give a thumbs up to Pyrodrone? I mean, totally taking care of my buddy. I mean, the customer service is just outstanding, and I'd like to give him a thumbs up. But remember, on this channel, at this point in time, I get nothing for free. I don't get any things to review, and nobody's giving me any reason to say yay unless they deserve it. So yeah, that's it, man. I'm gonna try to get more on the channel about this. I'm going to try to do some PID tuning when we get better weather. I guess we got somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 inches of snow on the ground now, and we're getting another 8. I don't know what's going on. At least it ain't raining, right? But if this was entertaining to you, or you liked what you seen, you got questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comment section. But hey, if you like this video, you know, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you hate it, man, you give me a thumbs down. It all works.